Hello and welcome to the Sheff United Way. My name is Hal. We're going to talk about a player that's been linked with the Blades, Nils Zatterstrom. Nils, by the way, great name for a defender. The Swedish full international is 20. He only turned 20 in March, a left-footed centre-back. Do like that. And in fact, it was in March, the 12th of March 2024, that Zatterstrom signed a 5-year contract with his club, Malmö FF, the Swedish Giants, the Swedish champions. He is 6'4". In his young career, he's already played 41 times for Malmö, and that is 𝗚𝗏𝗍𝗏𝗄𝐻𝗏's former club. And Nils scored 3 already, 1 assist. He's never been sent off and only received 5 senior yellows. #discipline. Now, we're sad to see 𝗚𝗏𝗍𝗏𝗄𝐻 go. He has been transferred to Feyenoord Rotterdam. But is Nils Zatterstrom the perfect replacement? Or, like some of our other signings that we've made in recent years, months, weeks, one for the future? Well, he's highly rated, doesn't always start for Malmö. In fact, a quick look at his appearances shows he's made 2 Champions League appearances from a possible 5 European opportunities and 10 league appearances from 18. Been on the bench 7 times. Those stats courtesy of Transfermarkt. So if they're wrong, that's who you blame. In April of last year, he missed 39 days with a hand injury. Now, I haven't looked into it. I don't actually know what happened, but they do like playing handball in Scandinavia, so possibly down to that. He played at youth level for Sweden, and as I mentioned, has 1 full cap. He got that at the age of 19, and that was under the very well-known coach, Jon Thomasson, who you might remember as a player and also a manager in England. Now, this was the game that he was involved in, a 6-0 win against Azerbaijan. He was also on the bench for a full national side, but didn't get on against Slovakia. Now, with the things I like about Nils, I'm going to go through some of the positives first. I like that he's tall, 6'4", very unusual for Sheffield United to be finally signing tall players, and we've needed physical presence, I think, particularly at the back. He's left-footed. The question I always ask you, does that mean he's competing with captain Jack Robinson and Rhys Norrington-Davies for a starting spot? I mean, we don't want 2 left-footers, in my opinion, starting together in a back 4, certainly the 2 in the middle. Your left back, I would assume, will be left-footed. But 2 left-footers playing at centre-back, although some would believe, and have you believe, that Jack Robinson has 2 left feet. Not me. I would never say that. So Nils is physically strong, and I've read several reports that say he's extremely mature in his play, his character, and his actions. Now, he's got a bit of pace. He's agile, which should help with that anticipation to read what a forward will do, bearing down on him. Hunter Scout, well worth checking out the website. Hunter Scout wrote this. I'm going to share some of the bulk of this. Now, I'll be honest, I think this might have been lost in translation, 1 or 2 of these terms and phrases, but I think you get the overall picture. I've picked quite a large chunk to share with you, but I do think it gives a real flavour of Nils Zatterstrom. He shows good positional sense, which is combined with good depth control and good anticipation of opponents, strong in defensive duels and shock ability, and has good defensive aerial play. He is aggressive in marking, has good timing in disarming, and closes space well. He reads spaces well and occupies them well, and has good coverage capabilities for the defensive line. Offensively, he shows a good relationship with the ball and demonstrates the ability to take on the construction phase with personality and confidence, whether in carrying the ball, breaking lines, or with long passes. He is communicative, leader-orientated, hard-working, and focuses at all times during the game. The weaknesses lie in the consistency of decision-making. He is a player with high potential who already shows maturity and performances to play in a team in the top 5 leagues. In the future, if he continues to develop positively, I see him playing for one of the main teams in Europe and being a starter in the promising Swedish national team for many years. End quote. Now, I've watched a few clips of Nils, and he looks to have an excellent jumping reach. Now, added to that 6'4" frame, that could be really useful as a weapon, either in defending or attacking set pieces. I was surprised at his pace. Genuinely, some clips look sped up, as he appears to have really good acceleration. He is aggressive. He is strong. He's got good defensive awareness. I've seen him use both feet, sometimes just for clearances, but using both. Seems to instinctively know when to put a foot in and win the ball. One other thing, he's competent at bringing the ball out of defence with confidence got a decent strike on him too. One of the 3 goals he scored is absolutely brilliant if you get a chance. And I do recommend that you try and look up some clips of him if you're interested. Now, he does seem to get a little touch tight at times to his man. And when this works and he wins the ball, fantastic. It is a risky ploy when it doesn't work. So just something to be aware of there. 𝗣𝗿𝗲𝗵𝗹𝗹, always a good follow on Twitter, said seemed to be very highly rated from what I've read. He's good in ground duels, decent in the air, but should be better. Reads the game well, seems to pass well, and a ball carrier like 𝗚𝗿𝗏. Is also left-footed, which is a big plus. Thank you very much. Do give him a follow. I also asked scout Brian Peters for his thoughts. He said this: Nils and Tyler Binden would be a great partnership that can push for automatic promotion, in my opinion. However, Sheffield United still need one more centre-back, as I don't fully trust Binden yet, and another right-back for this defence to properly challenge. If we sign Red Star Belgrade right-back Sol Young-woo, who of course Sheffield United have been linked with, it would really help. A lot of the new players in this squad are currently flying under everyone's radar, in my opinion, but this squad is very, very close to pushing for top 2. Now, I also asked Brian about if Nils would actually qualify for a GBE or an ESC slot. And I do have a video dedicated on this channel to how we can sign players from, well, slightly further afield than Dronfield. So you can check that out at your leisure. It's also available as an audio podcast. Now, Brian has said, due to his appearances for Sweden first team under 21s and 19s, he could qualify under the exemption rule, because exceptions, you know, they are made for young, high potential players. Sometimes, not always. It's very interesting. It's quite difficult, though, when you actually look through the points. Like, he wouldn't get the auto pass. And if I just do sort of very briefly, to be eligible for GBE, so basically to get a work permit from the Home Office to live and work in England, the auto pass or the 15 points, which you've got to earn. Now, the auto pass would be via international minutes. As I say, he's only played 1 game for the full Swedish national team, so he wouldn't qualify there. The league quality, that gives you 4 points because the Swedish top flight, that's band 5. Domestic minutes played, well, as I said, he's sometimes been on the bench, so he's not going to necessarily get enough points there. The league position of the current club, he gets 2 points for that because Malmö won the title. Continental progression of the current club, well, Malmö were knocked out in the league phase of the Europa League last season, but he did play in the Champions League qualifiers. But how many points are you actually going to get for that if it's going to take you over the threshold? It's difficult to add up, and I'm not an expert on that. I've been trying to crunch the numbers. I seem to get up to 10 at most. Some people have speculated he will just qualify. Let's wait and see. You would very much hope that Sheffield United have done their due diligence when it comes to signing a player and whether we actually can. You might remember the Parma winger, Jan Karama, who we were linked with, and it ended up being the case that we couldn't actually sign him due to work permit reasons. I don't always know why we are linked with players. How does that news get out there? Who leaks it? Is it agents trying to stir up a bit more interest? Probably. Also, we have 4 players with the ESC slot, and those 4 slots are already taken up. Now, if you loan one of those players out, that doesn't help. That doesn't change anything. The 4 slots are still taken up. Bit of a silly rule, in my opinion, but they are. So you'd have to actually sell or release one of our 4 if he doesn't, Nils, qualify. It remains to be seen. 𝗣𝗿𝗲𝗵𝗹 comparison with 𝗚𝗿𝗏𝗏𝗵𝗏𝗏 for context over the last 365 days. Now, there is more matches to go on for 𝗚𝗏𝗏, in fairness, but these are done in percentiles, so it doesn't necessarily mean you need more matches. But just to give us a bit of an idea, now they are in percentiles, and the higher the percentile, the better. I've highlighted some key areas, I think, of interest. We'll start with the less interesting ones and get more interesting. Nils is in the 81st percentile for progressive carries. Good at bringing the ball forward, out of defence. 88th percentile for 𝗚𝗏𝗏. They're both very, very good at that. Nils is in the 95th percentile. That's fantastic for successful take-ons. Woof. 𝗚𝗏𝗏, 46th, so middle of the road there. Shot creating actions, 68th percentile for Nils, just 36th percentile for 𝗚𝗏𝗏, so the low end there. Now the more important stuff. Nils is in the 85th percentile for tackles with 𝗚𝗏𝗏, 62nd. Interceptions, 43rd for Nils, 51 for 𝗚𝗏𝗏. They're roughly the same. Clearances, 28th percentile for Nils, 38th for 𝗚𝗏𝗏. You'd like them to be higher, but sometimes you don't need to make clearances because you've done brilliant defending and maybe progressively carried the ball. Aerial duels won, 70th percentile for Nils, only 31st percentile for 𝗚𝗏𝗏. One area that 𝗚𝗏𝗏 does score far higher is pass completion. I had actually read some people say about Nils's unique, maybe that's a good way of putting it, technique for passing. However, I've watched several clips, and certainly his long passing was really quite accurate at times. Let's look at some of the stats courtesy of FOTMob. Defending, 46.2% tackles won. These are all for Nils now. Duels won, he wins 53.6. Aerial duels won, he wins 48.4. Roughly 3 interceptions, 4 fouls committed, 19 recoveries. You can look at all those on FOTMob just for the most recent season. Of course, this season in Sweden is played at a different time, and that's because of the weather. So if you want to check some of those out, and also let me know your thoughts. Like, how do you feel about Sheffield United's transfer policy? It's been interesting, hasn't it, to see the way that we've been going. It's definitely different to what we know from Sheffield United in the past. Where do you feel like we're still light? Where do you feel like we still need to bring players in before the start of the season? And what do you make of this one? As always, thank you very much. Up the blades. Ale, ale, ale. Ale.